SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome. We have been discussing the heritage significance and values in the last lecture. Today we will take out the part 2 and we will continue to discuss about the significance and values. We talked about that how conservation is a process and how it should take care of its significance, and we should understand the values and we should assess the heritage significance. So, that was the background of how and why we are taking the discussing the significance and values. We also discussed that there may be many reasons beyond utility or personal association, and we have discussed several points: distinctive architectural and landscape, the story it can tell about the past, the connection with the notable people and events, flora, fauna, and how they find it beautiful or inspiring, and his role as the focus of the community, and architectural, historical interest or scientific interest, and spatial interest. In the last lecture, we talked about architectural value, landscape value, ecological value, association value, person, association with a person, association with an event, and we also talked about the narration. So, today we will talk about the other types of significance and values like landform flora and fauna, and why they find it beautiful or interesting, and how they can become the focus of a community, historic interest, scientific interest, and the spatial interest. So, let us talk about the first one, the distinctive landform flora and fauna. If you remember, we also talked about the Grand Canyon, USA, that how it is a Colorado river and how over the years, ages, centuries, how a particular type of land and geographical formation has formed, and how it has become an World Heritage Sites and interest to us visitors all over the world. Like Grand Canyon may not be to that extent, but there are other landforms all over the world in various places which are also can be very significant, even if not for the World Heritage, but it can be for the local community, a country, or a nation. For example, this is a place which is known as the Grand Canyon of Bengal, and which also has found, because of the same phenomena, that is a particular river Shilabuti or Shilai, it has created this type of landform, and it is not known widely known, it is known for very locally, and it is actually now people are trying to popularize it, and they call it, actually it is a Gongoni Danga or Gongoni Khola, and along that river of Shilabuti or Shilai, because of the laterite soil it has made this formation, and which is located in West Bengal in the West Midnapur district. And what we have to understand, this is a beautiful to look at, not only beautiful looked at, it is actually a particular type of geographical formation. Now, what we have to know that it is near a place called Garbita, which is a town, and which also has importance for its other historical association, which we will talk about later on. But one must understand that this also is very significant. This is value not only for the scenic reason, but also it needs to be preserved, because if you do not understand this value and significance, it may eventually get destroyed. There are other distinctive landforms. As I told you, people come here for picnic, daily spend, but it is not known outside Bengal or even in the other districts of Bengal. As we told that there is also historical or religious significance of this place, and which can form a multiple criteria that why this place should be important, but most important it is landform flora and fauna. Let us talk about another very well known place nearby from Bengal only, which is Sundarban. It is a World Heritage Site. It has got very distinctive flora and fauna. It is now declared as a national park, a tiger reserve and a biosphere reserve in West Bengal, India. As we know that there is the Royal Bengal tiger and there are different types of species, their type of a particular type of tree called Sundari tree, which comes out of this is very conducive for this type of environment, the saline water where the roots are very conducive. And now this is important that it is not only for its scenic beauty, but it is a combined thing which must take care of its landform flora and fauna. And though it is well known, it is not only for India, it also covers certain area of Bangladesh, the adjoining country. We must understand that when we declare or we understand the significance of a place, we also have some sort of other connotations of that. For example, this Sundarban National Park is in danger and there is a threat that it may be delisted from the World Heritage Site. Why? Because in Bangladesh there is a coal plant which is proposed, and if it comes out it will put it in threat. Threat means it can endanger the flora and the fauna, and it can endanger the particular ecosystem for biodiversity for which it is well known. And because of that there is a worldwide protest that it should be put a pressure on the country involved, so that this type of development should not happen. And that is why we must understand that when we talk about significance and the value, we also should understand that it gives a responsibility to us. On one hand, it is very important because it attracts tourists, it creates an economy, but at the same time it also puts a lot of responsibility not only on the stakeholders, but also on the government and different people, different policymakers who must understand that why and how to keep the significance of it. Let us talk about the other type of significance, which is the other one which they call because they find it beautiful or inspiring. Now, the question is what is beautiful, what is inspiring, and who are they? For example, this is a temple. If you can recognize that, it is actually in Gujarat. It is Sun Temple in Modhera, Gujarat. There are other Sun temples also like Konark and other places. This is beautiful because it is because of its curving, because of its architectural style. No doubt it is a beautiful structure and it has survived. It is an archaeologically protected site. There are some problems of preservation which we will talk about when we will talk about the decay of the materials. Let us talk about some other structures which are widely known to be quite beautiful, and we will see that what is the difference between the beautiful and inspiring. This is Shamrai in Bishnupur, a terracotta temple. Very delicate carvings are there in terracotta, and which also has a narrative value because it talks about the religious stories, the stories from our Purans and the methodology. And this is Upasana Griho Shantiniketan, entirely a different type. It is in stained glass, which is a place where the local community come and sit together to have their prayers. And this is Albert Hall Museum, which is Jaipur, entirely another different architecture style, a different genre in a different place, a different time altogether. And this is a Sun Temple, Kinkakuji, Kyoto, Japan. It is known as the Golden Temple. Now, generally it is accepted by a very wide number of people and viewers that these are beautiful. If these are beautiful, then what is inspiring? Let us talk about Shantiniketan Upasana Griho. It is beautiful because of its stained glass, its proportion, its the light, the architectural style. But there are other structures in the same place, Shantiniketan, like Udayan, and Shamoli. These perhaps may not be as beautiful, but they are inspiring. Why they are inspiring? Because these are the structure, like many other structures in Shantiniketan, where Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore was actually experimenting in the architectural style, how he sort of got inspired from Japanese style of architecture as well as the traditional Indian style of architecture. In the case of the first one, that is Udayan, which was his residence, and the other one, which is Shamoli, where he was actually getting inspiration from the local tribal people and how to create an architecture in a very sustainable form, which will be remain cool and totally made out of earthen structure, otherwise structure. It's very difficult to preserve that, though it has been inspired by the local traditional craft, but it also has a very significant mark of the ideas and thoughts and aesthetic artistic experiment which Rabindranath Tagore was taking in Shantiniketan along with his disciples and associates. So, there is some difference between what is beautiful and what is inspiring. Let us talk about some other examples also. The Kinkakuji, Kyoto, Japan is beautiful because not only of his architectural style, but also because of his setting and others. But in the same country, there are other structures like Itsukushima Shrine, which is in a nearby island. I found it quite interesting and inspiring, not beautiful in its own set, but because of his setting, and in the morning it gets submerged throughout the day because it sort of gets because of the sea water, and in the afternoon during the day it's sort of evening hours, it almost becomes like this. It's quite inspiring, I think I should say, and whereas the other one I should call it beautiful. There is subtle difference. So, but one can understand that this is quite subjective, and when we will start discussing about how to assess the heritage significance, we will talk about that how to make this assessment from a wider perspective. Talking about the terracotta temple of Bishnupur Shamrai, which has its own particular architectural significance, and we also have other examples of terracotta temple in Bishnupur and in other places of Bengal. Let us talk about this one, which is Rashmanchu. Rashmanchu is beautiful definitely, but it is also very inspiring because it actually, because of its construction technique, because of the form which is quite unique, it stands out. So, its significance is not only because of its beautiful, because it is quite inspiring because of its structure, because of its innovation, and later on we will talk about how it also has got some religious and spiritual significance for the community as a whole. Jor Bangla, which is also quite a very unique structure. This is definitely beautiful because of that, but it is also very important because it sort of showed that how sort of an experimentation happened with the structural form, and very innovative. So, in a way it is quite inspiring more than they are beautiful. It is not only that they are very well known, this Shamrai is well known, the Jor Bangla and also the structures, they are very well known, but there are also other structures in the vicinity which may not be that well known. For example, this one is in village called Jaipur, very close by to Bishnupur area, where it is known as the Govardhan. I found it very inspiring because what it did is that, because the name is Govardhan, which represents the hill, it tried to depict or try to replicate the form of a hill through terracotta tiles, which is quite unique and inspiring and very innovative, I must say. So, I think there is some difference between what is beautiful and what is inspiring, but as together there are values called beautiful and inspiring, for which structures can be very significant. We talked about the Albert Hall Museum, which is again in Rajasthan, Jaipur, which is a combination of the classical style of architecture but when you talk about seeing the same region, the Vijayastambha Chittorgarh, beautiful definitely, but it is also very inspiring. It has its own association value because it talks about the victory. So, there are, as we try to sort of point out, that the difference between the beautiful and inspiring, and some can be more beautiful and some can be more inspiring. The next point we come about understanding the values for its role as a focus of the community. And this community we will talk about later, but this is talking about a larger group of people who we can associate as a community. Does that mean always they have to be temples and forts or religious structures, monumental structure? Not always. They can be very insignificant structure also. Let us talk about this one. This is a chabutra, a bird-feed structure, which is very common in the traditional community of Ahmedabad. Here it is associated because within a community there is a place where these structures have been traditionally there, the timber structures, where there is a practice that all the people after their lunch or dinner, they come and put the leftovers there, so the birds can come and be fed here. So, this also it is a functional use. It has got some sort of a responsibility towards the birds, but over the time it got very beautiful, the way it was constructed, the way it was designed, and now it has become a symbol of the traditional neighborhood structure of Ahmedabad. And for that the community was involved to a large extent. Probably you are aware that Ahmedabad is the first city in India which got declared as the first heritage city of India by UNESCO. And because of this, this has become a symbol, a community structure, something which is valued by the community, which sort of acts as a binding factor in the community, is a symbol, and not only for its aesthetic value, but for its role in the community and other significance. When we talk about a community, the question comes, who is this community? Who are these people? There can be a small group of people, there can be the people from entire state, people from entire city, or so let us see that what does that community mean. I am talking about IIT Kharagpur, this building. This is the administrative block, the main building of IIT Kharagpur, and generation after generation of the students and the residents of community, they sort of associate this tower as almost something which is very important. And this tower has become almost an icon, a symbol, something to be valued, something to be preserved, something which sort of something to look up to, which represents IIT Kharagpur for generation and generation of students and teachers and staff and the residents of this place. So, here the community means a community associated with a particular academic institution. So, the community can also vary and from a very small community to a larger community, nonetheless it is valuable for that community. So, because it acts as a focus for that community, it has acquired a symbolic value, an important value over the years. Next, we will talk about the historic interest, that how the values can be of a historic interest. Let us talk about this one. This is Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. Why it is important? It is important, I will just quote and read out, to be of special historic interest of a building must illustrate important aspects of the nation's social, economic, cultural or military history and or have close historical associations with nationally important people. There should normally be some quality of interest in the physical fabric of the building itself to justify the statutory protection afforded by listing. So, as we can see that the history is a wide spectrum. It can be for various reasons, that is important. In this particular case, it is an 18th century neoclassical monument in Berlin, built on the orders of the Prussian king and after successful restoration of order during the early Batavian Revolution. But throughout its existence, the Brandenburg Gate was often a site for major historical events. So, history means not only one particular event or one particular association. History means it spans over a wider span of time. So, because it has become a symbol of the tumultuous history of Europe and Germany, but it is also of a European unity and peace. It has become a symbol of European unity and peace. So, we must understand when we are talking about a historical importance, it is nothing to do with beautiful or a community. It is a wider span of time, and there may be some very positive events, some may be not so happy events. But we must understand that when we are talking about a historic interest, all periods of history, all aspects, all events, whether it is associated with one community or many community, it must be respected, because history cannot be altered, it cannot be modified, we cannot tamper with history. So, this historic importance means we have to understand how this structure site has been changed, modified, what is its role over the centuries, decades and over years, and how it has become an important thing and how it has acquired a value, and we must respect that. History, again I am emphasizing, the history cannot be tampered with, but at the same time there must be some sort of a evidence that why and what happened and other things. We come to the communal value also, that when we are talking about the community, the communal value which can be commemorative and symbolic values, which can be the social value and which can be the spiritual value. A very good example of this communal value is the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya. This is associated with the great person of humanity, where it is said to have that Buddha attained his moksha here. So, this tree has got a symbolic value, a spiritual value for all the Buddhists from all over the world. They come and visit this place. But it is not only the Buddhists who come, the tourists from all over the world come to this place and sit there and do some sort of a meditation. So, it has got a symbolic value, it has got a spiritual value, and it has got a social value also. It means that it is not only important for only the Buddhists from all over the world, it is also important from the people of any religion who come there and pay respect to this what should I say, it is a person whom is respected all over the world. Now, when we are talking about this value, we must important that to preserve this value and significance, there is a lot of challenge in that, because this tree is something which is a living tree, it is not a structure, and how to preserve it and how to preserve the sanctity of the place, so that it remains a place for pilgrimage for all the people who visit the site. And I must agree that it needs a lot of challenge, because a lot of countries are also put up their structure nearby, and it is under great pressure, and it is a very challenging task. It is a World Heritage Site, so it needs some management control. So, this is one of the example of the communal value. Now, let us talk about the other aspect, which is called the scientific interest. So, we have come a long way from the artistic, historic and other. Let us see the scientific interest. A very good example of this scientific interest is the Jantar Mantar Jaipur. This Jantar Mantar Jaipur actually are basically observatories, which was built in 1724 to observe the sun, moon and the stars and compute the astronomical table and charts there. So, they are very quite ancient, and they were done for scientific reasons. There are 5 places all over India where these Jantar Mantars are there. The sundial at the Vedashala in Ujjain, Jantar Mantar, this Jantar Mantar in Mathura, and there is Jantar Mantar in Delhi, Jantar Mantar in Varanasi and Jantar Mantar in Jaipur. We must understand that when we talk about the scientific interest, just to preserve them is not enough, because we must understand that they are important for the scientific value. Let us come to a discussion that when we see that how without understanding this value can create a problem. For example, this is Jantar Mantar in Delhi. The New Delhi Municipal Corporation built a high-rise structure very in the close proximity to this structure, which actually sort of jeopardized the functionality of this structure. So, we must understand that it is not only beautiful, not only old, but it has a scientific reason, and this has to be understood if you want to preserve it. There are special interests. For example, this is Prinsep Ghat in Kolkata. The special interest can be of various type. Prinsep Ghat in Kolkata, it is not a very monumental structure. It is just as the name suggests, is a ghat where it was landing for the boats. And why it was done? It is important, of special importance, because the association. It is associated with a person called James Prinsep. James Prinsep, he was a mint master, he is the founder of Asiatic Society, but he is more well known because he has discovered the name of Ashoka the Great, because he was responsible for deciphering the Brahmi and the Kharishti edicts and coins, because of which we have got the evidence that of King Ashoka, and that his contribution. And after he sort of passed away, it is not the Britishers, but the local people, because they wanted to commemorate, they donated the money, and on a land this ghat was constructed, and so it is a very special interest. Their evidential value, for example, this is Moghalmari, which is again near in Midnapur, very close to Kharagpur area, a place called Datan. Now, it was known that this place was very frequented by the Buddhist monks and other pilgrimage, but there was not much evidence for that. Datan, which is also associated with Dantanagari, or it is said that Buddha's tooth was preserved here. There was a sort of a myth that there is some sort of an thing, association of this place, but it is only after these archaeological remains were excavated from Moghalmari that people got the evidence, concrete evidence, that it is really the place where this Buddhist monastery was there, a very large Buddhist monastery, and there were the coins, there were the different evidence which were discovered from that, and the local people, local community really played a very important role. So, this place is actually evidential value, because it actually made us understand or that what it was, that there was a place which was very important at that place, and also they discovered a lot of statues, bronze statues of Buddha, and which was discovered from there, which gave a concrete evidence that it is a very historical place. So, these are the, so as we can see that there are multiple criteria: architectural, landscape, historic, association, ecological, scientific, narration, focus of the community, spatial interest, aesthetic, person, association with a person, association with an event, and evidential evidence, and many other values or significance for which we can sort of say the structure, site or place has significance and is valuable to the present and the future generation, and that is why we must preserve them and we must keep them for posterity. So, what is a cultural significance? Cultural significance means is aesthetic, historic, scientific or social value for past, present or future generations. This is the definition which is given by Australia ICOMOS Charter for Conservation of Places of Cultural Significance, which is popularly known as the Burra Charter. But we must also understand that if we want to understand a place and assess the significance, we must also understand the fabric and evolution of the space, because though we are seeing it is at a product, but we must understand the process. So, in the next class we will, or the next lecture, we will talk about that how to assess the significance of a place. Thank you.